Welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with Coach Red, where we bring you all the news, stories, takes, and opinions about your favorite teams from the Pacific North. Fresh from the good to the bad to the Mariners.
The sweet, sweet Mariners, baby.
We haven't hit Thanksgiving yet. You probably haven't even finalized your Christmas list, but uh, the gifts are coming early on behalf of Jerry DePoto and Justin Hollander, making the first significant move of free agency and taking off the first big name off the board. But before we get into that, why don't I tell you a little bit about us? If you're looking for a guy that has just been starving for Mariners news and just shut my eyes and dreaming about spring training and the WBC and all things baseball, it's me, your boy, Coach Red. You can find me on X at the real Coach Red, on Instagram at the real underscore Coach Red, TikTok at the real Coach Red. Also find the show over on YouTube. Search Kicking It with Coach Red. Like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and leave a comment or two. And if you're looking for a guy that is going to be as hyped this episode, I believe, as JP Crawford, either pimping a homer or watching his teammates knock a big one out of the park. It's Cain.
Yep, I'm Kane. You can find me over on Twitter, K2406. TikTok, Kate0624. Also follow the show's socials over on 20 or over on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Red Pod. Follows. Do it, freaking do it. That was horrible. I'm sorry.
What wasn't horrible is the Mariners did what they said they were going to do. They said they were making Josh Naylor their number one priority this offseason and signed him to a 5 year deal where most outlets were thinking it was probably going to be a 3 or 4 year deal for Josh Naylor. I think the Mariners got a little bit savings on the total average by kicking in that fifth year. And full contract details came out today. The news broke shortly after the loss of the Seahawks to the Rams. So everyone's a little bit frustrated, but that frustration turned around real quick when you had a passing bomb drop of Josh Naylor returned to the Mariners for 5 years. Total
And
contract comes out 92 mil. That's 18.5 on the average and a full no trade clause, plus also no money deferred.
let's go. That's the one thing I was hoping was the full no trade. That is the one thing I was hoping for because he damn well deserved it. Um, this is huge. This kind of set the tone, I feel like, for how this offseason's gonna go for the Mariners.
Well, Josh Naylor has been traded twice over the course of last year. So was in Cleveland with his brother Bo Naylor for a handful of years playing right field, first base, right?
Mhm.
And the year before he was traded, he had like a 304 average. The next year was probably his worst year. He batted like 243, get shipped out to Arizona, and
Look
Mariners
at
end up
turnaround.
acquiring him. So on the for a career, he's a 269 hitter. Last year, total stats between the Diamondbacks and the Mariners: 295 average, 20 homers, 29 doubles, 92 RBIs. And we know that he was a maven on the base paths. I don't think that's going to continue at the same clip forever, but it is a fun little addition. But with Seattle, he played 54 games. He had a 299 average. He had 9 homers. He had 10 doubles, and he had 33 RBIs. So when you really look at that, the 54 games is approximately a third of a season, right?
Mhm.
So you extrapolate those out, you expect to see that home run number be about where it was at 20 to 30. You're looking for that double number to be right around 30, maybe a little bit more. And he's going to get you, 80 to 100 RBIs. And there were a couple of plays defensively that were miscues, but his ability to bail you out is similar to that what you saw at Ty France, right? Ty France wins a Gold Glove this year. I think that he should have won it the year where he committed no errors and saved a lot of runs over at first base, but he didn't get the love for the Mariners. But Josh Naylor has that it factor, right?
I agree
And
with that.
he's the one person that has relished and been vocal about liking to hit in Seattle. And
Yeah.
the numbers show it, right? I think out of minimum 100 plate appearances, he has the highest average at T-Mobile Park. And he came out with a statement that said, I'll paraphrase it, right? Where he basically said, I had heard good things about the fans and I love playing there. The teammates embrace me. I love playing alongside of them. And I'm excited. The fans welcome me with open arms. The clubhouse welcome me with open arms. And I'm ready for continued success. And my goal is to bring a championship to the city of Seattle.
I
It
mean,
wasn't a Mitch Haniger, right up like when the Mariners just missed the playoffs. And it's short and sweet, but you're expecting like the amount of outpouring even after the season on anything he
mhm.
posted by his teammates. The He's a total, and it's not always on this, right? But his personality just seems to mesh so well with this team, and especially the likes of the entire pitching staff, Cal
Hmm.
Raleigh, and Cal Raleigh's been vocal. I think he even said it a couple of days ago that Josh Naylor is one of the key pieces
Yes.
to this team.
On
And
national television.
really puts the Mariners front office in a bind. But they said all of the right things when it came to Josh Naylor, and they went out and got the job done by bringing him back at a number that we thought
I think it's
was
it's
less. That
well
was
below
less
what he
than
could
what
have
we
made.
thought he was gonna. I thought he was gonna be 4 years, 22, and coming in at 88 million on a 4 year deal, not 92 on a five.
Yeah, that's the wild part. And I mean, it granted, if they say they're only going to have 30 million, I expect them to have more payroll because uh the the cadence everybody said from this Josh Naylor deal, it's hey, all trains ahead. We got to make the push now. And I think they're going to respond to it well. Josh Naylor's just the first step. I mean, there's a couple more guys that I would like to or at least one more dude I hope that they can bring back, but we'll see. And then I think it's going to be a little longer before we see any more big players off the board.
And as we sit here today and what you've seen the Mariners do, not necessarily in the off season per se, because last year was a little quiet, right? But them locking up Cal before the beginning of the year, and Cal said before signing that extension, he wanted reassurances that this front office would go and make sure that they were contenders, right? And they have the pitching staff to be contenders. Cal was glowing of the front office during this year's trade deadline on the ability to go and get people to give them a better shot at making a deeper run. And I think with being one game away from the World Series, that I think the not just the front office, but potentially ownership sees the advantages of, you know, having playoff baseball in Seattle.
Yeah.
The revenue goes up, the interest goes up, and last year at the beginning of the year you saw a lot of fans that were slower to get into the ballpark. They were not happy with what happened during last year's offseason, knowing that they were close and had been close, missing out on the playoffs back to back years by one game, them advancing past the wild card round the first time they made the playoffs. And when you look at this core, you've got a pitching staff that is anchored by your crafty veteran in Luis Castillo, and then you've got four guys. Only three of them are ARB eligible, and
Mm-hmm.
there's that control. And you've got some good guys coming up throughout the minors, both on the pitching side and the hitting side. But right now you need to go get established guys. You're not going to be able to just rely when you're this close. You don't then turn it over to the young guys that you're hoping can be what they've shown in the minors. You can sprinkle some of them in, and I think that is going to be key. But
But you
going
need
and getting
critical
an
role
established guy,
players.
especially when you look with the Sean Locklear trade, where you did not have a first baseman of the future that was anywhere close to where you needed them to be. And I think that Luke Rayleigh can still step in at times when you need to give Naylor a rest and play that first base role, but you're not having to allocate resources to trying to do some sort of platoon at first base or rely
Exactly.
on an aging player like a Carlos Santana or a guy
Mm-hmm.
that's trying to bounce back that, you know, had a good little run for the Twins, but then couldn't see the field for the Blue Jays in Ty France, right? The You're either looking at a pedigree of a Pete Alonso or just because the raw power numbers aren't there, a step below in Josh Naylor. But I think what Josh Naylor does is he brings that bat to ball ability. For his career, he strikes out twice as much as he walks. But when you're talking about Mariners hitters, if you can have a 2-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, you're sitting pretty good.
Yeah, and let's not forget the intensity that he brings to this dugout and to this team. He's got this energy that they thrive off of, right? It was like he's been with this team for years, and kind of how JP is how he is, and he's just one of the most beloved guys in the locker room. He's been there the longest. That's how my perceived perception of Josh Naylor was this year. Is this dude was making plays left and right at first. I mean, playoffs was amazing out of him. He had first two games where it was but he was also dealing with is his wife having a baby or not?
Well, and he had a little bit of oblique thing that popped up a couple of times
Sure.
throughout the year.
But after he got back, after his baby was born, Josh Naylor exploded in the playoffs and had probably one of the best performances out of anybody on the team. And not to mention defensively, this is the ultimate get for this team, and it's a huge step in the right direction. That you know, the Mariners trending up right now.
Yeah, it's exciting to see, and we'll as the off season continues to progress, we'll reassess once we see a few more guys go off because really outside of some few minor transactions, right? The Mariners they make a trade with the Dodgers to get a lefty power arm that hasn't seen the bigs yet that looked pretty solid in AAA, so you'll see. But I think the only other real pass and bomb worthy thing was I think Ryan Yarbo signed 1 year, 2.5 mil deal with the Yankees. It's been pretty quiet so far, right? The hot stove hasn't heated up just yet. So as we see this unfold a little bit more, we'll be able to sit down and break down kind of some of the guys that we thought could have potentially have been fits for the Mariners, be able to break down some contracts and really look forward to seeing which Mariners are playing on the WBC teams, how we think that's going to unfold, a lot of offseason talk, a lot of roster construction talk, a lot of prospect talk, right? There's going to be a lot more fuel to the fire this year for the Mariners because when you looked at it last year, relatively quiet off season, there were not a lot of guys and the proof was in the pudding. You kind of had Ryan Bliss, Cole Young, and Ben Williamson all with varying degrees. Obviously Ryan Bliss getting hurt doesn't help, and then Sean Locklear, where like there you
Tyler
go.
Locklear.
Yeah, Tyler. Sorry, I'm mine's going a million miles a minute. So Tyler Locklear, right? So when you're sitting there, those were your guys, and
Forever seemed like Tyler Locklear forever seemed blocked no matter what they did.
Exactly. And you weren't sure where Cole Young was going to fit in. I don't think that we anticipated Ben Williamson getting called up when he did. And there wasn't really a whole lot of prospect hype around that, right? Your prospect hype was more so around guys that were in some of the lower levels that have really upped their stock this year.
Yeah, yeah.
But those guys are a year closer, and some of them are have accelerated their timetable quite a bit. That it makes it easier to put those guys in the talk of can they help your team next year. Last year we really didn't have that. You like maybe Cole Young, probably Ryan Bliss. We weren't
Mhm.
talking about Ben Williamson,
I mean,
and
we were talking about his defense. That was about it. And
we were talking a little bit
when,
about Tyler Locklear with the upside
yeah,
potential.
and when, you were trotting Polo out at third to begin the year, and the defense was not looking very good. It's everybody clamored for Ben Williamson. And don't get me wrong, I think he played a solid third base, and the stick picked up when he went down. So maybe you're going to see a different Ben Williamson come up. Maybe in spring training, we'll see.
I
But
think that you got extremely good defense. I thought we got what we expected defensively,
mhm,
the ability to hit for doubles. We knew that, you know,
he's a merchant,
he
dude.
was a good on base guy, he was a good average guy in the minors, but the average wasn't there and he wasn't being able to get to second very often. We would sit there throughout the week, and if we had one double on the week when he was playing almost every day, it was a good week for Ben Williamson, right?
Mm,
So obviously that ticked up a little bit, but there'll be a lot more for us to talk about this Mariners team with how deep they went in the playoffs, with how close they were, with this being the first move. It's probably the most exciting start that the Mariners have had in an offseason since they went and got Robinson Cano and Nelson Cruz.
yeah, back when a couple of years ago, you were at mom and dad's, and I woke up from a nap to Mitch Garver signing after the Rangers had won the World Series, and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty decent." And I mean, I don't know how that went, but
Yep.
that was the last time I was super excited about an off-season move.
And this one's got everybody hyped, right? But
Yeah,
when your team does well, others take notice. And what we've seen really over the course of the last week is some of the Mariners staff and front office getting picked by other teams. And we'll start with the Guardians. Our old friend Stephen Voigt, our 1 year bullpen coach, comes over to Seattle and picks up Tony Arnrich, who was our bullpen coach. He had been a AAA manager, and brings him on as their bench coach for the Guardians. And they also get Adam McKay, who has been a part of this front office. He has been in the Angels organization, was actually on the field and had aspirations to get back on the field. And I bet he felt slighted with Dan Wilson, no managerial or real coaching experience out of special assignment guy for the Mariners with catchers and not full time, not even getting a look, right? So he wanted to get back on the field. I'm not sure exactly what his title is with the Guardians, but it's been stated that he will be an on-field coach for them.
mm-hmm.
And granted, that's a guy that's behind the scenes. I know that he's done some player development. I've known that he's done some scouting and kind of helped build this team to where it's at now. And there's a handful of guys that follow him. I didn't want to pick through their articles and say things here that weren't my own, because I'm not the guy that's going to be able to talk about what the guys in the front office are doing, right? I'm more about seeing what's on the field, what tweaks can be made. That's why I'm Coach Red, not front office Red.
The
Okay.
next departure hurts. That one hurts a little bit.
It's Christopher Negron, Mariners third base coach. He went
Ultimate hype
from,
man.
and Christopher Negron played a handful of games for the Mariners. And then I believe he is DFA, got picked up by the Dodgers, maybe played a couple of games for them, got sent back down, and then decided to hang it up and immediately went into coaching. Mariners brought him on. He was a quick riser throughout their system, quickly came up, became their first base coach. Once Maniacta got moved to the bench coach, he moved over to third base. And this is a guy that wants to be a manager at the big league level, and the Pirates go ahead and take him and bring him in as their bench coach. And if if the Pirates can have a good year, right, he's going to be a name that should be hot for some of these openings. When you have success, your coaches are looked at, and there were some guys like I think it was Trent Blank and Pete Woodworth that were approached and were heavily talked about for other jobs, and the Mariners were able to keep them on staff,
Thank goodness
which,
for Pete Woodworth. Thank goodness.
but I do think when you look at the Mariners' ability, especially when we talk about Josh Naylor and even look at Julio, you look at Randy Arozarena and their ability to take second. I think a lot of that has been attributed to Eric Young Jr. over at first base.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you need to keep him in that spot, right? Before we
Agreed.
get into talking about who, I've got a few names and they all have Mariner connections, right? That I think could fill that spot. We will talk about someone that the Mariners have already brought on staff to fill that bullpen coach role, and it's Austin Nola, former Mariners catcher, was part of the deal that acquired Ty France, Taylor Trammell, and Andres Munoz. And don't forget Luis Torrens.
God, your love for Luis Torrens, man.
Luis Torrens has a
I
win on the mound, and
I
I saw
know.
him hit a walk-off hit. So he's basically my Otani. He's my Mariners Otani. Well, actually, no, take that
That's
back because Felix
Felix.
did hit a grand slam off
He
of Johan
did.
Santana.
He did.
He had a few more wins than Luis Torrens, but not as many home runs. But a lot of people chirp it in like Mariners finally won the trade. I think the Mariners won the trade because Austin Nola was having a good year in that COVID shortened year when the Padres were really trying to make that push to go back to the playoffs, and they ended up realizing that the following year and having a deep run, right?
Mhm.
And Austin Nola, form brother Aaron
Aaron
Nola,
Nola.
pitcher,
Yep.
and was a shortstop coming up, converted to catcher. The Mariners brought him on in AAA. He ends up coming up and having a pretty solid year for the Mariners, and they're able to sell high and go ahead and get three all-star appearances, two from Andres Munoz and one from Ty France out of the deal. And Austin Ola dealt with injuries quite a bit. He had signed a minor league deal with the Braves. The Mariners got the okay, and he terminated that contract to become the bullpen coach for the Mariners.
I like this, dude. I think it's gonna be a vibe in the bullpen, even more so than it was. This is a guy who is 35 years old, now retired from baseball, who played for 6, 7 years. So,
And he's a guy that grounded out, made a position change, has been around the game forever. He's got a
mhm.
brother that's a pitcher. He's called games, and you see that a lot of managers are former catchers and backup catchers. This is a guy that had some starting experience. Obviously, Dan had that as well, but you look at the likes of former Mariners skippers and Scott Service, right? Former catcher, a guy that I thought was going to be getting a job this year for sure as as a guy that would have taken the helm of a team. I thought he was a shoe in for the Baltimore Orioles job, right? Seemed
Mhm.
like that type of guy. But getting a catcher, even though this isn't a lifelong catcher, I think brings a lot. And you're looking at the Mariners, and there's a lot of nostalgia, right? That comes with the Mariners when you have Dan Wilson and you have Edgar Martinez on staff, right? But they also have one of their on field pitching analytics guy and Danny Farquhar, former reliever. They bring back Austin Nola. So when I'm looking at third base coach replacements, I don't have a laundry list of everyone that's in every organization, right? I'm going to go to guys that have some familiarity with this team, and some of them have coaching experiences, and some of them don't. And I'm going to work my way. I'm going to start with our guys that have some coaching experience, and then I'm going to go to some guys that I think are a little wild cardy, right? We'll start off. First guy, actually, I'll go five because there's one option that I do not think will happen, but I would have loved for it to happen. And the first guy is Willie Bloomquist.
Haven't
He's
heard that
the
name in a minute.
super utility guy for the Mariners. He is the head coach at Arizona State. I do not think that when you look at college baseball, you look at the jump that the Tennessee coach made, which was early enough in the cycle to make that move to go and be the manager for a major league baseball team. I don't think you're going to leave a head job at your alma mater late where you're already doing your build up, you've already had fall ball, you're in the middle of off season workouts, and you're in your recruiting phase, that you're going to then leave your alma mater high and dry, short notice to go to the bigs.
Yeah,
So that's why I have Willie Bloomquist as
especially to be a third base coach. I mean,
it would be cool. And especially if he want, that's kind of the thing too, is you really look at it, is there's some guys that have used that to springboard it to then move to bench coach, like Christopher Negron, that wants to manage at the MLB level. But you've also had some guys that don't move past that. That's kind of where they're stuck, right?
mm,
So that was just the first name I'll throw out. I'm going to throw out another name of a former utility player for the Mariners who's currently on staff in AAA. He is their hitting coach, and he is not former bantamweight UFC champion, but it's Sean O'Malley from from Richland, Washington.
yeah, I like that. I think that'd be cool.
Sean O'Malley played over 2 years, played 113 games with the Mariners, was kind of that utility guy. It was kind of in the doldrum years, right, where
Mm,
the offensive production wasn't there. It's like in the heart of the Felix era. And
yeah.
Sean O'Malley was an ultimate effort guy. He's worked his way up like a Christopher Negron did, right? He's been a hitting coach at Double A, Triple A, and I think even Single A for the Mariners. I know for sure Double A and Triple A, and he's a guy that's moved up within the rankings. It's a guy that has MLB experience. He only has like 140 career games, not even a full season worth of time in the bigs, but it's a guy the Mariners respect. And it's not like he was a big bopper, but he's been a hitting coach for them. It wouldn't shock me to see them look internally with the guy that they already have to be able to move him up and fill a hitting coach at the AAA level.
Oh, I think 100% that they're gonna hire from within from that. I think it's the right move because just the rapport that they have with the guys, especially, people that they've coached before.
Well, there's a guy that he's been a third base coach at a couple of places. He's currently under employment right now. He was a third base coach for a couple of years for the Mets, and I think that they had a managerial shakeup, and that's when he moved to the Tigers. He is going to be the manager for Team Puerto Rico, and if you're trying to bring back some '95 magic, go and get Joey Cora, current
Mm.
third base coach for the Detroit Tigers. Honestly, I don't know what the logistics are there. I know that when you're talking about college football per se, that if you're going, you can go poach someone. I mean, anyone can poach anyone, right? In today's times, but most of the time, you couldn't take a lateral move if you were under contract from another school, right? So I don't know what the semantics of that would look like. But if you want a guy that has experience as a third base coach, that is a figure with the Mariners. It's a guy, this is kind of the guy that I'm talking about, that gets to the third base coach and wants to become a manager and has gotten interviews to be a big league manager, but hasn't been given that opportunity. I think that Although the Detroit Tigers have sitting there, they've made the playoffs in back-to-back years. They've advanced around at least one round each time. But hey, Joey, come home. You just got ousted by the Mariners. If you can't beat them, join them.
Sure. All right. What's your next coach?
The next guy is someone that does not have any coaching experience. Like Austin Nola, he is a former Mariners player. He had more success in his MLB career and is a guy that I think clicks very well with your core group of players and is one of the more respected guys within the Mariners locker room that helped get them from not making the playoffs to making the playoffs, and it is Mitch Haniger.
Yeah, I'd like that. I'd love that. Number 17 sitting over in the third base box. Ooh,
I feel like Mitch Haniger was always a calculated type player, right? I think that
yeah.
he would be the right temperament for a third base coach. He knows what it's like to have the ups and downs in Seattle. He was there with Cal Raleigh, J.P. Crawford, Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Luis Castillo, right? When they were making that push. And he was the captain of the team. He was one of the best, if not the best player on the Mariners for a stretch of 2 to 3 years.
I can agree with that.
And the way the city loves him, the way that he's respected by the players, with them bringing him back in the money shakeup of Robbie Ray, I think that that showed just how much he meant to the Mariners. And obviously, they weren't going to carry that salary. We knew it was going to happen. He knew it was going to happen. He did not latch back on with another team. He seems like a guy that wants to be around baseball for a long period of time. This could be his foot in the door. And I wouldn't be shocked if the Mariners extended that offer.
That would be awesome. Now that's a third base coach I could get around, man. It'd be the ultimate vibe there.
I got another guy, my last guy.
Is this the best for last?
I was going to put him before Mitch Haniger, but I had to think with my head and not my
Oh,
heart.
okay.
If you're talking about the ultimate
Oh,
strategist, you talk about the guy that can dissect the game, a guy that also
did he
is
just
a
retire as a Mariner?
he did retire as a Mariner.
Was it in the last 2 years? Because I think I
No,
can.
no, it was
Okay,
not within the
you know,
last 2 years.
I might have one then. I might have one. So go ahead.
It's a guy that has a good relationship between the old Mariners that are currently on staff, has a good relationship with the current Mariners currently here, is maybe best friends with your center fielder. It's Ichiro Suzuki. He's already in the building.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Oh my gosh. Uh,
Legitimately, he's already in full uniform. You just got to trot him out to third base. And
uh,
if you really want to look, his ability to know when to take that extra bag, he was a big time steal guy, especially early in his career. This is a guy that eats, breathes, and sleeps baseball. He's already in the building. He is a Mariners Hall of Famer. He is an MLB Hall of Famer. He's sitting there as an on-field liaison, and he has since he retired. You know that he wants to be around the game, and now you have a spot where you can insert him and you can put two former dangerous base runners at the position that really sets up your team and your ability to maneuver around the base pass. And you want to talk about a technician, you want to talk about a guy that has structure, that knows the game maybe better than most people out there, right? This is a guy that dissected pitchers. You have Edgar that kept his book on everybody. Everyone talked to Edgar. They still do about what he sees, how he approaches that. You want to talk about getting ready day in, day out. You want to talk about a guy that you will not run through a stop sign on. It's going to be Ichiro Suzuki.
I do like that. You know, when you were the build up, and this is what got me thinking. I thought you were going Nelly Cruz.
No, I don't think that Nelson Cruz would be a good third base coach.
He'd
I think
probably be
that
a good
Nelson
hitting
Cruz
coach.
would be a good hitting liaison, right?
Sure.
I thought that you thought that I would go with Kyle Seager because I think that Kyle Seager would be a phenomenal choice, but I think that there's still some sourness on how everything ended during the Dipoto era and kind of the lackluster send off that he ended up getting with the Mariners.
Yeah, no, I truly thought it was Nelly because we were like, because he just retired, what, 2 years ago or this year?
But I think that with Ichiro, he's already in the building, right?
It's easy.
And I do think that if you're looking for guys that are currently under contract in some form or fashion with the Mariners, that Sean O'Malley probably makes the most logical sense with a guy that has moved up within the organization that is still a younger guy that has major league experience that is kind of a Christopher Negron type. But I do think that Ichiro could be phenomenal at that position. I think that you would probably see a little bit more hitting and running. I think that you would see him calling for some bump base hits. What I disliked about Ishiro as a player, where I felt that he was a little bit selfish for his stats and his ability to get on base, I think could play very well for what the Mariners need to do a better job of, right? They've been so reliant on, and their strikeouts were down this year compared to years past, but they still strike out at a rate that is very high, right? So you need to take advantage when you have guys on base, and having that combination of Ichiro and Eric Young Jr. playing off each other in what you can do on the base pass, I think could be a fun, dangerous combination for the Mariners to put additional pressure on other teams.
Yeah, I agree. I think that would be a very, very, very fun situation if Ichiro was there.
I don't think that you were even thinking that any of those four guys were the four
No,
guys that I had on my list.
no, no,
I
I
don't
was
know
not.
what you were thinking, but I do know that our listeners can figure out what we are thinking by following us over on social media. You can find me, your boy, Coach Red, on X at the Real Coach Red, on Instagram at the real underscore Coach Red, TikTok at the Real Coach Red. Also, find the show over on YouTube. Search Kicking It with Coach Red. Like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and leave a comment or two. Maybe drop some of your third base coach options. Maybe you can even do three. I don't know. Whatever you want. Kane, where you at?
Find me over on Twitter, Kane2406, TikTok, Kane0624. Also follow the show's socials over on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Red Pod. Pause, pause, pause. Do it, freaking do it.
And as always, stay fresh.
Stay fresh, peeps.
Peace.